What's up, everyone? Ben with the BTC Sessions here, and this is your daily session.
Hodl that Bitcoin.
Before we jump into the news, of course, a couple quick things. Big shout out to sponsors of the show, Ledn.io. This is where you can use your Bitcoin to use a couple different services, one of which is Bitcoin-backed loans. You can get Canadian dollars or US dollars with your Bitcoin as collateral, or their Bitcoin savings account where you can earn interest on your Bitcoin in Bitcoin. If you use the link below to check out these services, they will credit an additional $50 worth of Bitcoin into your account if you end up getting a loan. And if you are into Bitcoin and are privacy conscious, then really you should look into using a VPN. What I use is NordVPN. It's really great. It can help hide your IP address, it encrypts your browsing data, and it also helps you unlock geo-blocked content if that's something you'd like to do. If you use the link below, it ends up being about $3 a month if you get a 3-year plan. And with that, let's dive into the news. So the Bitcoin price has been volatile as all hell as of late. We were kind of retesting the 13K range, and we saw that break down quite a bit. Right now, we are sitting around this 11,685. So we've had a significant pullback from the 13K range, but it's actually been lower than that. It has been down, from what I saw, pretty close to $11,000, almost dipping into the tens. That was very, very brief. We saw a bounce back from that. So what are we looking at now? What are some key levels? Well, essentially, we seem to have bounced off support at around 11,300, and we've returned it's $300-400 from that. So right now we seem to be bouncing between 11,300 and around 11,850. If we drop out of that range again, then we're looking to maybe test as low as 10K and beyond. But if we kind of continue on this bounce back from this pullback, then we will be hopefully looking to retest that yearly high of 13,900 in around that range. Now, a couple things to note is that there has been very high volume when it comes to the Bitcoin trading, which typically does not tend to lean towards a bearish dip. It tends to usually drive up the price to new highs. And secondly, more Tether is being printed. And I know that's a funny thing to mention, but typically, if people are taking dollars and giving them to Tether to create more Tether, they're not necessarily sitting on that Tether. They're doing that so that they can make purchases, right? And so typically, if you see Tether being created, that could signify that people are looking to make more purchases. So we may see some bumps up in the near future here, but I guess time will tell. Let's dive into the next one here. And this is, I guess, pertinent globally, but specifically to me here in Canada. We have some official crypto regulations here in Canada, mostly dealing with businesses, not individuals, but businesses that are exchanges or facilitating the transfer of cryptocurrencies. Well, we kind of know what to expect now. So by 2020, I believe June of next year, any cryptocurrency business located in Canada will have to register as a money service business or an MSB. And so what does this mean as far as what they have to do? Well, it's not too different from what already has to be done. So when it comes to any transactions that are above $10,000, you have to essentially record those transactions and report them to FinTrack, just in an effort to cut down on money laundering and terrorist financing. But that goes pretty much across any business that's dealing with money already. And it was already more or less an expectation of companies to be doing that regardless of what industry you're in. So nothing really big there, no real changes. The other interesting thing though is at what point does KYC kick in? Because typically it's around $3,000 that KYC where you need to actually provide information. Unfortunately, that is a little bit lower than the 3,000. It's actually anything above 1,000, you will legally be required to have information collected. So you need to have essentially who the person is, just to identify them. So again, not ideal, not the best, but at the same time, at least it's not as bad as it could have been. And I'm sure there will be pushes in the future to make it kind of more or less in line with just regular business practices in Canada. But it's also nice that it's individual or businesses as opposed to people as well. So that's that. Now, in relation to that, sort of, a little bit different, but we have a wonderful writer that has joined the team at Bull Bitcoin. His name is Chris Lang, and he's been writing a couple articles for us. This is a second one here, but basically he's kind of summing up the Bull Bitcoin position on regulations when it comes to crypto asset trading platforms. And this is actually, I've thoroughly enjoyed what he wrote here. I thought it was pretty funny, but he basically lays out what Bull Bitcoin and Francis and Dave believe to be a good path forward when it comes to regulating this industry. In that Bitcoin is not a security, and that most other altcoins are indeed securities, and if you're dealing with them, then you should be regulated as such. And how does he lay this out? Well, essentially, he lays it out in the form of how do you make a good burger? And it sounds ridiculous, and it is, and I think you guys will probably have a pretty good laugh at some of this stuff. So you should probably take a peek at it. It's a fun read. And yeah, enjoy. It's been shared on my personal Twitter. It'll be down in the links below, and it's been on the Bull Bitcoin Twitter. So go check it out. Moving on, cool to see this Forbes article covering a company called Lolli. Now, Lolli is based just in the US right now. Unfortunately, I would love to use it though. But essentially, it allows you to use their platform in order to get, instead of cash back, you get sats back. So when you spend money, you actually earn rewards points, but instead of rewards points, you're getting Bitcoin. So in some instances, you can save up to 30% back in the form of Bitcoin. Now they're paired up with a number of different companies. Hopefully, I can find them quickly here. God, there's a lot. They're with companies like Walmart. So Walmart is one of Lolli's top partners. And so their reasoning here is that this will spur on an entirely new class of hodlers, where people that would not have been interested in Bitcoin in the first place, essentially they feel like they're just getting rewards points, but then down the line, as Bitcoin proliferates more and appreciates in value, they realize that their points have gone up in value exponentially, and they're that much more interested in Bitcoin, and they're more likely to start to decipher the difference between sound money and fiat garbage. And so yeah, it's kind of this sneaking in through a rewards program and then encouraging people to look at the difference between Bitcoin and their local currency. Not only that, but say down the line, they use in the example in this article, let's say that X number of customers are getting rewards for shopping at Walmart in the form of Bitcoin. Well, Lolli can then go to those companies and say, hey, you already have 100,000 people shopping here that are also active Bitcoin hodlers that may want to spend at your store. It could be in your interest to just accept Bitcoin directly and cut out the middleman and maybe cut down on your credit card fees. And that, I think, is an interesting approach to exploring that kind of merchant adoption curve, because it didn't really pan out the first time when everybody tried to get merchants on board, because they realized, not a lot of people are holding Bitcoin or spending it. And so this could be a little bit more of a natural path where you get a lot of people holding this stuff, even just in a small amount, and they start to appreciate what it actually is. So I guess we'll see. Now, this article here, so the Winklevoss twins with their Gemini exchange, they're early Bitcoin adopters. They've been around for quite a while in the Bitcoin scene. And then, of course, Mark Zuckerberg, CEO of Facebook, who is creating Libra, Facebook's digital currency, which is actually a stable coin backed by a basket of fiat currencies in digital form. Yeah. Anyways, it seems that the Winklevoss twins are extending an olive branch to Zuckerberg in the form of they want to be part of the committee. How would you say that? I don't know. They're one of the institutional players that would like to dive in and be part of the consortium. That's the word I'm looking for, behind Libra. So they have a vote and a say in how it's governed, even if it's a small one. And so the quote from Tyler Winklevoss was, Libra is the first of many FANG, that's short for Facebook, Amazon, Netflix, and Google, companies to have a token project. Our prediction is in the next 24 months, almost every FANG company will have a coin or be working on some sort of project. So essentially, they want to be part of the Libra launch and part of its governing body, but they also want to be approved to do things like virtual commodities, virtual securities, basically anything that can be tokenized. They'd like to have that, I guess, on the Gemini platform over time. So, The title of the article reads a little bit like, oh, there was a face-to-face meeting and they shook hands. But I think more or less this probably wasn't necessarily that. They just want to be part of that consortium, and they probably aren't specifically worrying about, being face-to-face, shaking hands with Zuckerberg and being all chummy again. I think they're just... they see something that has a lot of attention, and obviously this is a headline-grabbing statement saying that the Winklevii and Zuckerberg are back together. It'll make for an interesting third installment of The Social Network, then Bitcoin Billionaires, which is a new book, by the way. I'm sure there will be a threequel that comes out in relation to however this pans out. Now, I've been seeing in the news a lot lately here that given the year that we've had in Bitcoin and crypto, a lot of people are starting to kind of curve and be basically Bitcoin maximalists, or pre-maximalists, maybe we'll say. And this one... This one is an interesting one. If you're unfamiliar with Billina, he is, we'll say, a shitcoin and ICO pumper to the max. He goes by Diary of a Made Man on Twitter. And yeah, he was recently on Block TV and interviewed and basically saying that alts more or less haven't kept up with Bitcoin at all, and he's leaning towards becoming a Bitcoin maximalist and everything. The thing with this is, I feel people like Ian just kind of go wherever the hype is at the time, rather than having like actual convictions behind what they are doing. Again, like when ICOs were hot, who was all over it? Meanwhile, you go back and odds are most maximalists that are around now, a lot of them may have dabbled in altcoins, but I don't think many of them were pumping ICOs and scammy projects. So it's interesting to see the sway as public opinion shifts and people just start to fall in line regardless of the crap that they shilled in the past. So best of luck to you, Ian, but I'm not a fan of his past work. Let's move on. Speaking of scammers, There was a guy in South Africa, I believe. Yep, South African. So he was in South Africa and he put together some sort of a Bitcoin Ponzi scheme where he was promising people 100% returns. Well, essentially, the whole thing went belly up, surprise, surprise. But then the people that got scammed by him went and burned down his damn house, which is kind of funny. So, there was rumors that he had been arrested. Turns out that wasn't true. There was a mob at the police station. They just said, hey, we don't have him. And then eventually they all congregated at his house and just set it on fire. And yeah, there's videos of this. I'll link to the actual post below. But yeah, I wish I could say I felt bad for him, but no. Okay, a video I made just yesterday is out. I'm very, very happy to finally get this one out. I've been saying I'm going to do it for a while, and finally this week I kind of managed to squeak out two big ones that I have been excited to release. One was the Wasabi one, which I had touched on before, so I did CoinJoin. You can check back in my YouTube playlist to see that. But then just yesterday, I dropped my Coldcard video. So one of these bad boys made by Rodolfo Novak from CoinKite. And essentially, it's a Bitcoin-only hardware wallet that allows you to do PBSTs, partially signed Bitcoin transactions, which is essentially where you can set up a transaction on your computer. You put it on an SD card, and you plunk it in here to approve it. Take it back out, put it in your computer, and broadcast it. So essentially, your keys are on here, and your keys are never, ever connected to the internet. So it's like that next level of security where you can be pretty damn sure that this device is not being compromised, at least digitally online. So feel free to check that out. I will link that down below in the show notes. And finally, I'll start wrapping up here. Again, I've got an event happening August 8th in Calgary for super beginners. So if you are a super beginner, then you might be confused over everything we talked about, but feel free to come down to that. And if you're not a beginner, but you know somebody that might benefit, feel free to send them my way. I am also doing kind of affiliate program if you want to make some money by moving some tickets. Just reach out to me at contact@btcsessions.ca and I'll let you know what's up. And besides that, thank you guys very much for watching. Don't forget to hit that like, subscribe, and share button. And if you're wanting to help out the channel, you can hit up my sponsors down below that I mentioned at the beginning of the show, or drop a Lightning Network tip at my tippin.me page. With that, I am out. I will see you guys tomorrow for your daily session.